Those at the Guma Dam, who provide Freetown with its drinking water, realize how vastly important Sierra Leone's forests are to their supply of water. In the 60s, when this dam was built, it was set up to service roughly 300,000 people. Now, with nearly 2 million people in Freetown, the Guma Dam is under extreme stress. Not only has the population increased, but also the amount of rain has decreased. It used to be that the rainy season would last for a solid 6 months. Now, it lasts just 4. The capacity of the dam has been stretched to its limits as it tries to provide for all of Freetown's residents, yet with fewer trees to help fill the reservoir with rains. The city's main water pipe, which was built in the 1950s, is literally cracking under the pressure and leaks hundreds of gallons of water each day. Already in 2006, there were extreme water shortages in the entire country, and water had to be rationed, with many people not getting any at all. As it is now, as little as 2% of the rural population, with slightly higher numbers for the city, have access to safe drinking water. In times of conflict, when peace and democracy are under threat, the media can play an essential role in providing people access to nonpartisan news and information. In developing countries, especially those with low literacy rates, the radio is an essential tool for educating the public on important environmental issues. Approximately 60% of the Sierra Leonean population is illiterate, and the high cost of newspapers makes them unavailable to the majority of those who can read. Without radio stations such as Cotton Tree News, many people would be left in the dark.
Okay. Well, in Sierra Leone in general, radio plays a fundamental role in transmitting information. Most people are illiterate, and so radio is their only means of actually getting information from the outside or learning about their community. They don't read newspapers, and very few people have access to, of course, the internet or television. So radio can play a very important role, not only in giving information to people, but also in voicing people's concerns. So if you can imagine, the information actually goes in 2 ways. It comes up from the communities that are faced with environmental challenges or problems, and it also comes from experts. And those experts are either in the academic field or in NGOs or with one of the UN organizations. And so the radio is that essential tool that goes between the two, and also from the capital city to the rural populations. Rural populations in particular are often isolated, they lack information, there's a higher level of illiteracy, and their radio can deliver the information in their local languages as well, so you're getting it in tribal languages.
And do you run any specific programs on the radio that have to do with the environment?
Yes, environment's treated in 2 or 3 ways on our radio. If there's a news item, it'll be part of the news bulletin that goes out in 5 languages. Then we've got a special show called Earth Beat, which is in Creole or in English, depending on the topic, and that'll deal with very specific topics: deforestation, access to water, environmental stewardship in the sense of preserving the natural resources. And so there we look at a very specific topic. There'll usually be an expert that's interviewed, or 2 or 3 experts, and then the reporter will go into the field and actually report on what's happening. So for instance, on something on deforestation, he might have an academic, he might have somebody from the EU, for instance, is supporting a lot of environmental programs, and then he'll actually go to a community where he sees people gathering wood. And it's one thing to give them the information, but if people don't have any cooking heat, if they don't have access to fuel, they don't have stoves and ovens, how are they going to cook? Of course they're going to go and get wood, they're going to gather wood, they're going to chop wood. So, you can have all sorts of great plans, but if people are so poor that they don't have access to cooking heat, and of course even in Freetown, the primary source of cooking heat is still wood, and so if you look around Freetown, you'll see the hills are just devastated. So you often need to tackle the root causes of the problem before you can actually make a change.
And do you see deforestation as the biggest environmental problem that Sierra Leone faces?
Sierra Leone faces so many problems, it'd be hard to sort of rank them. I think deforestation is a serious problem for Sierra Leone because it has a big impact on water. Of course, when areas are deforested, it upsets the water table, and so, for instance, Freetown has acute water shortages. And here we are in a country that has ample rainfall and river sources and so forth, but Freetown is without water. So deforestation is certainly among them. I mean, Sierra Leone is also vulnerable to all sorts of, the global problems that we have. Global warming, for instance, with its coastlines, and with depletion of the natural resources.
How would you rank the current administration's environmental policy or efforts to encourage positive environmental values?
Well, I don't think it's going to come from the government. I think the government has a lot on their plate, and there's a lot of lip service. But within the government, there are several ministries that deal with environmental issues, and no one's really been able to figure out who's responsible for some of the environmental catastrophes that are going on, even just around Freetown. So I don't think it's going to come from the government. I think it'll be, ideally, like in many countries, it'll have a grassroots sort of origin where local NGOs, perhaps with the support from the international community, will be able to garner the grassroots support. When a community lives, for instance, on the edge of a forest and uses the forest for its resources, they're the people that have the most to lose. And so those are the people that should be looking for solutions that allow them to live off the natural resources of the forest, but protect the forest at the same time and protect species. So it should have a grassroots sort of origin. Now, people are going to need help. They're going to need help from the international community. They need help from the media. They'll need a government that at least provides an enabling environment.
Foundation Hirondelle, Media for Peace and Human Dignity, sponsors Cotton Tree News and other radio stations in post-conflict countries around Africa. Cotton Tree News has played an important role in educating the population on many environmental problems through on-air education and awareness programs and a weekly Earth Beat program by journalist Bassi Kanu.
From CTN Forabe College, Freetown, Fambul, I welcome you to another edition of the program Earth Beat with me, Bassi Kanu. This edition, Fambul, they continue to look at the environment. In the last edition, Fambul, we will talk about deforestation and we try to see the civil society their point of view about the environment. Today, the government will talk about how to protect the environment. But if you protect this environment, every hand for this environment protection business, tranga one. Fambul, for make you go know, the government passed an Environmental Protection Act of 2008.
Freetown originally, some time ago, we were planting 1 million people. But me and say we pass 2 million now. Everybody get right to water. Once it can pay for the services the way they get, everybody get for use water. And make we not forget, so we not begin use water better is not salon. Because when you get industry, they use far more water. Now you see what they complain so. So now you see talk about the catchment. Now that's we get to understand.